stream player. Yep. Okay, and as our stream, let's go fishing for some cool sound effects, shall we? In my assets here, I've picked out a few free sound effects. Not that one. Eight-bit sound pack. Okay, so there was sort of this. This item appears. It feels a little bit cheesy. I quite like that for a collision. I found something that I really liked before, but I can't remember what it is. Might bring that sound down a little bit so it's not overpowering you guys. Oh yeah, I think it's Find Money. There we go. That Find Money sounds really nice. Okay, so let's grab this Find Money and bring it into our star. And we're just going to call this pickup.wef. And now if we grab our pickup sound, we can now plonk that here. And I think we want to have some sort of audio bus. Audio default bus layout. Okay. So what we want to do here, I guess, in our game, I might just make an audio folder. And this is actually going to be more for like managing the audio, not necessarily the audio files themselves, because I kind of want to keep those with the objects that are using them, right? So then within this audio folder, we can create a new resource. And I believe there are a few. So there's an audio bus layout. And we're going to save that in audio. And we're just going to call this default audio bus layout. Okay. And then that is going to allow us to change some different like channels essentially, right? So we're going to have a collectibles sound bus. I guess that's all we're going to really need right now. And we'll figure out the different audio effects later. Okay, so then we go into our project and set our bus layout to this bus layout we've just set up, right? And all of this looks roughly okay. Okay, so this audio stream player is not going to play by default, but when we jump into the code and say game state, so we're not going to immediately queue free anymore. Or maybe we should. Maybe we should just have a global audio handler. Yeah, I think that's maybe better. Oh. And that will allow us to not to worry so much about the sound effects like overlapping and things. Okay. Let's do it that way. So, if we create a new scene, right? And we're just going to call this the audio manager. Okay, and it's just going to be a node. Fantastic. Let's just save this dark because we're not actually changing it. Okay, so audio manager, and then here we're going to have an audio stream player, and that is just going to be the collect star sound, right? And this one, I guess it makes sense for this to be in here now. And we'll create a new folder and call this sound effects. I just totally backtracked on myself there, but I think I just realized we kind of just want the stars to die of their own accord and not have to worry about the sound players. Like if we wanted, let's say, a really long sound effect for the star, like bling, 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 bling. Yeah, exactly like that. And we kind of want the star to just die and get it out of memory, and we don't want it hanging around. We don't want to worry about it colliding with stuff because it's still alive. I think this allows us to sort of forget about the audio on the node that's being destroyed and just transfer that responsibility to this manager. And then that allows us to essentially set this auto load, right? So we're going to have like a global audio manager essentially. And that will allow any hello Commodore 256. Any advice for people that want to program and don't trust magic? Like if I use Godot, I'm trusting the magic that I don't get how it works. That is Godot. If I could look at the source code and understand it, I'm trusting. So you're saying like want to program? Does that mean want to learn to program? Are you an intermediate programmer? Are you new? I guess it depends on your experience. So when I first started programming, so I've been programming for 22 years now, right? And I've been a professional developer for over 15 years. When I first started, I was literally just doing little games and stuff, so I didn't really care about magic, as you put it. And then I sort of went to university to study computer science, and in university we did like a lot of Java stuff and things, and that's where you learn all the low-level stuff. And when you learn all the low-level stuff, you kind of think, no magic, right? Because you're like, I've learned all this low-level stuff. I want to use this knowledge. So you're sort of like, you're a hammer and everything starts to look like a nail, right? You've got this low-level knowledge and you start thinking, I want to do low-level stuff. But the further along my career I got, the more I realized that magic is good. My favorite programming language is actually Ruby, because of the magic. The more that you can get out of your head, I struggled to afford uni as well, and I actually dropped out and did a development course as well. Right? You don't trust it. Well, if you're not willing to trust other people, then programming's not for you, mate. Because you're using a laptop that was designed by a team of thousands of people. Like, it took probably over 1,000 people just to design the chip that is running your CPU, right? Let alone the operating system, all the software that you're running, and everything else you're using. If you're not going to trust other people, then you're in the wrong industry. You need to trust the magic. If you want to work at a high level and produce value at a high level, you're going to have to trust magic. Otherwise, you should learn how to be a chip developer and go learn some electronics, right? I hope that doesn't sound harsh, but that's what I've learned, in 15 years of being a professional, is that if you want to make things happen, you have to use tools, and those tools inherently have magic, right? And the only way, then you work on low-level stuff and you sell your tools to people who do want to make things using high level, right? So if you want to make a game, you're going to have to trust in magic. If you want to make game-making tools, then you can build your own magic and sell it to people as a tool. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to rename this sound effect as star pickup. But yeah. We did have games before third-party middleware. But like, if you want to compete in a market and build all your own tools from scratch, right? Like, a lot of the games that get made, right? If they're not using third-party middleware, they build their own engine. Most of them fail, first of all. Read about any game devs creating their own engines. But the thing is that, like, maybe in the 80s, you could build your own engine, right? And you could be successful because no one else was building their own engines. There wasn't a lot available. You weren't competing with a lot. So they were able to be successful. And also, those engines to begin with were incredibly simple. But we've got to a point in our society where we need to rely on other people's technologies in order to push the boundary, right? In the 80s, you could push the boundary with just one person, just one mind. But computer science and software has developed to a complexity where one mind isn't really capable of pushing boundaries on its own. I haven't heard of Suckless, no. Okay, so this collect sound stream, let's just pluck that here. And maybe I'm going to organize this with some nodes, just so we know where things are. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm just saying from my experience. So before I left my job, I was a lead developer at a fintech company in London, right? I've hired a lot of developers in my career, and I've managed teams. Yeah, but that's always the case, right? No programmer in this world ever tries to write too many lines of code, more than they need. You have to trust that the people whose tools you're using actually have the same intent, like best intentions in mind, right? No one goes out seeking to write some shitty code. No one, right? But they always make trade-offs, and there will always be trade-offs in software. Okay?